Make no mistake, border control in this country is failing, spectacularly so. Just yesterday, a boat carrying 32 asylum seekers was intercepted off the coast of Western Australia. It's a scenario that's repeated every week, sometimes every few days. Our knee-jerk response is to bundle these people off to detention centres. Almost 7,000 are now locked away around the country at a cost of hundreds of millions of dollars. Out of mind, out of sight. At least that's how the government would like it. But tonight, an insider breaks her silence. And with the help of the latest spy technology, we'll show you what's really happening behind the barbed wire. The forbidding shore of Christmas Island, 2,000 kilometres across the Indian Ocean, is a long way to go for an appointment. A group of Iranians, held at the island's detention centre, has agreed to a visit.
How many people in here?
And to comply with the rules, we'd supplied our names days in advance.
Liam Bartlett, Kate Gauthier. Here for a scheduled visit, please.
Not as far as I'm concerned. No comment.
What do you mean, no comment?
I'm not allowed to let you in.
Why is that,
No
sir?
comment.
The visit was arranged by refugee policy advocate Kate Gauthier.
Have you been told not to let us in?
No comment.
But the guard has been told to keep the gate and his mouth shut.
No comment.
So this sort of pig-headed obstinance is not uncommon?
No, it's not uncommon. It's pretty standard of what happens at remote centres, and that's one of the reasons why they put detention centres in remote locations, is it makes it very difficult for individual advocates and the media to be able to come here because they know that everybody's on a tight schedule.
Right.
It's little wonder immigration officials cancelled our visit. They're in a dreadful mess. Endless boat arrivals, fires, riots, sinkings. And now, even detention centre workers are telling the inconvenient truth.
The Department of Immigration don't want the Australian people to know what sort of people they're letting into the country.
This woman, Anne, knows exactly what it's like behind the detention centre fence.
And they call them clients, do they?
They call them clients.
She's a client services officer who believes there's a lot we're not being told about asylum seekers and wants to reveal what's really happening.
I guess the government wants the Australian public to believe that they're poor, that we need to help these people out, that they are true asylum-seeking people. And most of these people have more money than most Australians.
You're not exactly painting a picture of people who come from a war-torn area.
No, they're not.
Though there must be those mingled in with the rest.
There is a few genuine people, but the people that aren't genuine far outweigh this tiny amount of genuine people.
This is the first glimpse that asylum seekers get of Australia, the rocky coastline of Christmas Island. It's also the exact spot where, about 5 months ago, in very stormy conditions, a boatload came to grief, killing 50 people. Now, you couldn't help but feel sadness and sorrow about that tragic day. But amazingly, it hasn't softened the way most people feel about those who make that treacherous journey.
It's a bit like a tourist information bureau. They will ask you to put by any vacant rooms in the accommodation blocks because they've booked their brother on Tuesday, so he'll get here on Friday, and then also another room for their mother that's on the Friday boat trip, so she'll get here on Monday.
While you're standing there, they're on the phone dealing with somebody to be in touch with a people smuggler?
Yes, they even gave us the people smuggling phone number.
Are you serious?
Yes, and we passed it on to the Department of Immigration.
And what happened?
I believe nothing happened about that.
That's extraordinary.
It's not boat smuggling, it's more a travel bureau.
People smuggling ground almost to a halt under the Howard government's Pacific solution. Under Labor, all arrivals come instead to Christmas Island, and the trickle turned into a flood. When Christmas Island was filled to overflowing, something had to give. The island itself was just way too small. The only alternative was the mainland, and to best explain what's happened here, let's take a virtual tour around the country.
Around 1,400 are now living in an RAAF base up here in the middle of nowhere at Curtin. 497 are up in Darwin and 562 over in another RAAF base at Sherga in Cape York. There are 392 in Sydney, held in the infamous Villawood. 92 are now detained in Melbourne. Up to 400 are coming soon to Tasmania. And 46 in Perth, with another 750 planned. And to top it off, another 2,500 in community housing, seedy motels, foster care, and so on. At last count, 6,872 people detained here in Australia. What has this schmozzle cost the taxpayer in the past 12 months?
Are you talking about detention costs?
The whole cost.
Detention is expensive. It's cost well over $600 million over the last 12 months. It is expensive, but it underlines...
Immigration Minister Chris Bowen is the man with the most unenviable job in Australia.
Yeah, that's right.
How much do we spend on each and every detainee?
Look, as an average cost, it is expensive.
How much?
About $80,000 a head each year.
$80,000 each?
And that goes, but that's the total cost. That includes all the security costs, all the maintenance. That's a total cost across the board.
And I did have my visit approved.
On Christmas Island, where a lot of that money is spent, Kate Gautier's attempts to get our visit approved were ignored.
Might come out. Hello? Hello? She's just hung up on me.
Clearly, they're not going to let us anywhere near this place.
No.
So let's go and find another way of trying to have a look.
Yep.
We'd tried the front door without success. So this was the only way to show how and where asylum seekers are detained. A bird's eye view from an unmanned camera drone.
It's unconventional, but I think it's the only chance we've got of actually being able to see inside.
At least this way, we could see over those high fences.
It's a big wide area, isn't it?
Well, it is a big wide area if you're not being kept there for 12 months at a time. You know, if you've got 2,000 people trying to use that area, it's not a lot of space to be using there.
The centre was designed for 400. Right now, it houses about 3 times that number.
And they've had to fit out extra areas, some of the recreation space, in order to put camp beds and things in there so that they can expand it, because it was only supposed to be for 400 people.
Okay. The pressure valve finally exploded 2 months ago. Whether they were traumatised or just troublemakers, they torched the place.
Those buildings have been badly fire damaged. Why should people feel sorry for people who have come to this country and done that sort of damage?
What happens when you keep people who've experienced torture and trauma in their homeland and you put them in this kind of environment and you deny them access to lawyers and you deny them access to proper medical care or to know what's happening with their case, they're going to respond in ways like this.
Kate, why do you think so many Australians take a hardline stance against these people?
I think there's been a lot of misinformation that is provided to people, and people think of this as a national security issue, as a border control issue, and it's not. It's a humanitarian issue. If your kids' lives were in danger, what would you do? What do we all do? We make sure that our children are protected, and we do whatever it is that we can in order to ensure that their life is in safety.
We had 3 or 4 riots there when I was there.
But our insider paints a vastly different picture. She says the riots are far more frequent than we know about. One occurred in February, and the fracas was recorded on a resident's mobile phone.
When you say a bad riot, how many people are you talking about?
About 300 detainees.
What sort of weapons?
You're talking about fence posts, the iron bars off the tables and the chairs that are in their rooms, and huge rocks. The camp is based on a huge rock base. They've smashed all the windows. They pulled the Afghani boys out of their rooms. They beat them up.
And yet it was all hushed up.
Yes, we had half a dozen of the Afghani boys with bad head injuries, one in particular bleeding from both ears and his nose, big gash to the head.
You still remember it vividly? Are the boys okay?
I believe so.
It was that bad. You're still emotionally scarred by it. And yet the people who are capable of doing that harm to that boy and others, no punishment whatsoever.
No punishment. It's like living in a war zone up there. It's like we're living in the Middle East. This is supposed to be Australia, but it's not. We are living in the Middle East up there.
Anne told us she was surprised that a lot of refugees come well dressed and well off.
Some of them have quite a lot of money US on them when they come off the boat. Some of them have Austrian and Swiss credit cards.
And what do they say about that? What's the explanation?
Most of these people aren't poor people. They will show you their Facebook photos. They will show you all their world trips around the world. They've all had lovely holidays. They've all got lovely homes. Well, not all of them, a lot of them.
Do you think there are asylum seekers who make that journey for economic reasons, financial reasons only?
No, I don't believe it because the journey is too risky. It's too risky. You are basically when we got onto the boat, I felt like I'm signing the contract of death.
So you're not scared?
I want to go for a holiday.
Oh, holiday.
Najiba was a Farost, and her family from Afghanistan are a boat people success story. They've all had stints in detention, and tonight they're celebrating their granddad's release just 2 months ago.
So he has now real freedom.
Yes. Yeah.
The family say the Taliban was out to kill them, so they fled across the border to Pakistan, and that's where they heard about Australia.
Like Australia is a multicultural country. Australia is a country that will welcome refugees and asylum seekers, and that's how this decision was made.
That was the reputation that we had.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, this is very interesting. So you didn't actually choose Australia?
No, we didn't choose, no.
You just wanted to get out of your country?
That's it.
Najiba's now studying medicine, and her story is at the heart of the immigration debate. It's about humanity, she says, not a head count.
And then Australia. Every time we talk about refugees and asylum seekers, the only thing that gets emphasized in the community today is about the number, because we constantly hear about this many boats arrive in Australia, this many people arrive in Australia, this many people did this, but we never talk about the real stories behind their faces, behind these numbers, that these people are human beings, and they have had no other choice than coming by boat, then taking that risky journey and coming to Australia.
It won't be long before that risky journey doesn't end on Christmas Island, but in Papua New Guinea or Malaysia.
It will be a big blow to people smugglers.
The government has agreed on yet another offshore solution. This time it's a refugee swap with Malaysia. We'll exchange our boat people for processed refugees. One of ours for 5 of theirs.
The people smugglers will need to say to people, give me your money, risk your life on a boat, get to Australia, and Australia will return you to Malaysia. That becomes a very difficult sell for people smugglers.
That's only for the first 1,000.
Well, 800, but you've got to find 800 volunteers. 800 volunteers to say, yes, I'll part with my $10,000, I'll get on a boat, I'll go to Australia for the Australian government to return me to Malaysia, where I'll join the other 92,000 asylum seekers that are waiting in Malaysia for resettlement. Not a very attractive prospect.
Who decides what refugees we get?
Australia.
Who decides which ones?
Australia.
Who picks them out in Malaysia?
Australia.
Back on Christmas Island, we visited the so-called family camp.
Sorry mate, you can't be in here.
How are you going?
Another appointment to meet a family.
Yeah, I have an approved visit.
From who?
And another rejection.
Operations manager said all visits have been cancelled today.
I've had this approved for 7 days.
Seriously, that's not up to me, that's up to the operations manager, and you can turn that
Well, can you just give me a reason, please?
For council grounds, leave the property, please.
Just tell me why.
There's a lot of heat in this argument, and the only thing everyone agrees on is the current system hasn't been working.
I think the Australian public needs to know that the majority of these people don't deserve to get the free treatment from Australia. They should be turned around. Most of these people should be sent back.
Your brother was born on the way here?
Yep.
It was a different story, of course, around Najiba's family dinner table.
Yeah.
And you studied?
Yeah.
They were keen to show there is life after detention and that genuine refugees can make a go of it here.
Can I ask you all an honest question? So, do you all still consider yourself
now? To be Afghani or
Australian.
Australian?
Australian.
Belle, please. How can we believe anything you say now?
I have lost everything.
Remember this?
You didn't have brain cancer.
The Belle Gibson train crash.
Would you accept that you're a pathological liar?
Coming up on 60 Minutes.
Don't put that camera up at me.
When you hear those claims, 3 heart operations, 2 cardiac arrests, died twice and a brain tumour.
Sick to my gut.
Her lies about beating cancer outraged the world.
She's known as the biggest fraudster on Instagram.
It's embarrassing.
But closer to home,
I'm angry.
it was her big brother who really suffered.
She'll never tell the truth.
Now, Nick Gibson wants his say.
You want your sister to go to jail?
Yeah, to get a wake-up call.
That's next on 60 Minutes.